Remember when you were playing New Super Mario Bros. And you ran into these things and just wondered,
What?
I know I think about it once a week, but I've never actually thought hard enough about what these things are and what they're doing in a Mario game. Then the more I thought about it, the more of these weird Mario enemies I remembered. I decided to go back through some of the Mario games and look at their catalog of enemies to see what other weird ones there were, and there's a lot. So today I want to go through some of these enemies to find out which ones deserve to exist, which ones are war crimes, and which ones I hope come back in future games. This isn't going to be a comprehensive list or anything, I'm just going to go through some of my favorites. But anyways, let's start off with Super Mario Bros. 2. Not that Super Mario Bros. 2, that Super Mario Bros. 2. This game is an interesting case for Mario enemies, since it's not even a Mario game. A lot of the enemies in this game, like Shy Guys and Birdo, did get kept and are now staples in the series, but a lot of them weren't brought back and were banished to being one of those weird guys. Albatross, Hoopster, Porcupo, a lot of these guys just never came back. At least Pidgeot still has a spirit in Smash Bros, that's something. I wonder how they decided which of these to bring back in future games, like, why did Shy Guy come back but Fry Guy is just sitting there waiting to be used? Now, to be fair, a lot of these are just based on normal animals, so it kinda makes sense why they haven't returned. Like, who remembers the classic Mario enemy, Whale? But yeah, Mario 2's lost enemies are pretty tame, but as we get on, things get a bit weirder. Super Mario Bros. 3 has a few funny little guys, starting off with the Angry Sun. I wouldn't say this is a crazy obscure one, but I do wish it was used a bit more often in mainline games. It's in the background of a Mario Kart stage, and it did make it into Super Mario Maker, and actually, if that's the design of it now, maybe it's fine to stake on. Fire Chomps are an enemy that I know are in a decent amount of Mario games, but I always kinda just forget that they exist. I like their design, and I think it would be pretty interesting to see these in a 3D game. Hotfoots are these little guys who seem pretty cool. They kind of act like boos where if you look at them they stop. But honestly, I kind of just wanted to mention them because they look like this guy from the Procrastination SpongeBob episode. Okay, so I thought these guys were from newer games, and it turns out I was kind of right but kind of wrong, because they are technically different enemies. These are called Pile Driver Micro Goombas. Write that down, there will be a test. Basically, these guys hide like normal bricks and then jump out at you if you get close enough. I really like this idea. I hope they use it in a future game but slightly redesign it and then pretty much never use it again despite it being such a cool concept. Finally for Mario 3, hey look, it's a normal Buzzy Beetle, and what? I would have peed my pants if I saw this as a kid. These are Buster Beetles, they can pick up blocks and then throw them at you. This is such a cool enemy. I'm guessing they didn't bring them back since they pretty much got rid of the blocks that you can pick up, but it's so unfortunate. Super Mario World doesn't have too many wacky new enemies that don't show up anymore. This is the game where Hotheads came from, which have now appeared in more Smash Bros. Games than Mario games. Anyways, Super Mario World has a bit of a dinosaur theme going on with it, with all the Yoshis and all, so there's a grand total of 3 dinosaur enemies: Rex, Dino Torch, and Dino Rhino. I can kinda see why these guys don't come back too often, but I do like Dino Torch a lot, he's just a cool guy. Thwimps were also introduced in Mario World. They're basically a tiny little version of Thwomps that can jump around. These did come back in Mario U, which gives me a little bit of hope they'll be used more. I think they're really funny. Alright, so after this, Mario moved on to the 3D games, which allowed for a lot more opportunities for new gameplay and giant floating eyeballs. Starting with Super Mario 64, there's 2 characters that aren't necessarily enemies, but I wish they'd come back nonetheless. That being Hoot the Owl and Ukiki the Monkey. Hoot can help you by flying you into the air, and Ukikis will steal your hat. Try not to cry, you can get it back. These guys are pretty funny, I wouldn't mind them coming back somehow. Okay, so you know how you're playing Super Mario Sunshine, and for some reason these guys just choose violence and commit manslaughter by throwing you into the abyss? Well, there's actually enemies similar to this in Mario 64, except they're actually supposed to be enemies instead of platforming devices. Chuckyas are a cool concept for an enemy, and I think you could honestly use them in a similar way to the Chucksters in Sunshine, as long as you fix the trajectory, dear god. One enemy that kinda got replaced is the Money Bag. It hides as a normal coin, but runs away if you get close to it, but then gives you 5 coins if you kill it. This has been pretty much replaced by the Coin Coffer, which pretty much does the same thing. I really like this thing's design, maybe even more than the Coin Coffer, but there's not really much point in bringing it back anymore. Alright, here's another one that isn't crazy uncommon or anything, but I just never really think about it, the Amp. These guys are cool, not really much else to say though. They deserve to be in a Mario Kart track at least. Mr. I has to be one of the weirdest Mario enemies. Like, how did they come up with this? Outside of Mario 64, he's really only been in spin-offs, mostly Mario Party. I like how random this is, even if it might seem a little out of place, I do hope they bring it back someday. But he did make it into a Lego set, see, I knew he would do it someday. Scuttlebugs and Skeeters are these weird little spider guys. I make sure to think about them at least once a month. I like that it looks like they're on crack, not really much else to say. Spindrifts are special because they're one of the only enemies that you can find at your local Walmart. These guys are awesome, and I genuinely really just want them back. Put them in Mario Kart, I would play as them all day. They have a cool design, they make you spin and float off them if you jump off their head, what more could you really want? They're just awesome, nothing really to hate here. Okay, so on to Mario Sunshine. Since this game has a beach theme, it has a lot of new and especially goofy enemies. Electro Koopa, Stroll and Stu, any of these guys could have a page in the history textbook. But Sunshine's best introduction is easily the Cataquack. These guys are legendary. Not only are they peak design, but they also launch you up in the air, and they're the bane of my existence in Mario Kart. It's just a crime these things have only been in this, Galaxy, and Mario Kart. They just deserve so much more. Just imagine playing as one of these in Mario Kart. Yes, this is what I think about in my free time, don't judge me. But outside of that, a lot of Sunshine's new characters are either bosses or NPCs. I would go for bosses, but I'm lazy, so I guess I'll just say they better bring back Piantissimo. What do you want me to talk about, this guy? Okay, Mario Galaxy has a lot of new enemies because of the whole space theming and everything, so I'm just gonna speedrun some of the best one. Spiky Topman is awesome, Honey Queen should be forgotten but is in Mario Kart for some reason, Spring is a Spring, Spoing is a Spoing, and Sprangler is a Sprangler, please don't get them mixed up. Goombeetle pulls, I hate Guillermo's, Guppy needs to be banned from elementary schools, Spooky Speedster is cooler than I'll ever be, and Male Toad is fine I guess. Mario Galaxy 2 is basically the same situation. Whittles are funny little guys, Chimps are little guys, not funny. Trap Dragons remind me of Spindrifts. Of course you got Snoodle, Spinecone, Spinelbur, what was going on with these names? Kleptoad has definitely seen some things and I'm still not really convinced he's in this game. This guy has a name that I have to be really careful while typing, and of course Male Toad makes his return. Okay, so now we're going back to 2D with the game that I think has the most new weird enemies, New Super Mario Bros. For the DS. First off, remember the Pile Driver Micro Goombas? Well, they're kind of back now, and kind of better than ever, honestly. Block Hoppers are these little alien guys that hide inside stacks of blocks and jump around. I once again love this enemy and have no idea why they almost never bring it back, it's so cool. Bruisers are another one of those enemies that you know exist but never really think about, kinda like that assignment that you have due in 20 minutes. I really like these guys, they're just so weird. I have no idea why or how these guys exist, but they somehow not only did that, but also got their own Mario Party minigame, so I guess I really shouldn't be judging. Crowbers are crows because I just knew something was missing from this game, it's the crows! They appear in one stage and swoop down at you, S tier bring them back. Kabombs are, I don't even know, I'm running out of things to say. They're bob-bombs that are ignited by fire and make fireworks, yippee! I thought I was gonna have to talk about these guys, but apparently they're just redesigns of Scuttlebugs and Skeeters from Mario 64 DS. I don't really know which design I like better, but I am proud of them for getting over their drug addiction. Alright, finally we're to these guys, apparently called Snailicorns. They basically act like bullies from Mario 64, but ended up as these guys somehow? They've literally never appeared again. Heck, they don't even have official artwork. How did this even happen? Did the guy making the enemies just forget that they were due that day and have his thumbprint handy? Even when I first played this game as a kid, I thought they were weird, which is kinda why I love them. I want these to return eventually, they're just such a weird enemy to exist, and I honestly just want a piece of official artwork for them. They deserve that at least. But anyways, snow spikes are just regular spikes, but cooler. I like these a lot, and honestly, I'm surprised they aren't used more. They did come back in Mario Maker 2 though, so I guess there's a chance they start using them again. Splunkins are so funny. Like, look at this guy. How can you not love him? Not only do they have an amazing design and name though, they honestly have a pretty cool gimmick where you have to jump on them twice, but they speed up after the first time. I wish these were in a Mario Kart track like Grumble Volcano or something. Imagine how cool it would be if you hit one of these with a shell and it started moving faster, making it harder to avoid. But sadly, Splunkins probably don't have a big chance of coming back. And finally, for New Super Mario Bros., we have Squigglers, baby versions of Wigglers. They're alright, but they're no Splunkin. Though to be fair, that's a high mark to hit. That's all for New Super Mario Bros. This has one of my favorite batches of weird enemies. There's just so many of them and I love it. But up next is New Super Mario Bros. Wii, which surprisingly doesn't have too many crazy new enemies. Brambles are these funny guys, I think they're pretty cool. I don't really know what else to say about them, so I asked my friend for input, so there you go. These are another one I hope show up in a Mario Kart course, I think that could be pretty cool. Speaking of cool, Cooligans are just the coolest. These guys could be cereal mascots, it's hard to hate them because of how cool they are, but don't worry, I do still hate them because of the ice level in World 9. These ghost blocks are kinda cool. I don't know what to say, it's a flying cube, I can do that too. But finally from New Super Mario Bros. Wii, we have Hucket Crabs, creating the war between which Mario Crab is the Mario Crab. It's the one from Mario Odyssey. New Super Mario Bros. 2 has the Bone Goomba, that's it, and I'm not even joking. What do you want me to say here? Super Mario 3D Land has a few goofy enemies. I feel like you can tell when an enemy is from Super Mario 3D Land, like, they all just have a sort of look to them, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trusting this guy with my life. Block-a-Blocks look like my 3rd grade art project. They're pretty cool, but I don't need them to come back. This is the game that introduced coin coffers, which, like I said, replaced money bags. They're pretty cool. I still like the design of money bags a lot, but coin coffers spit out coins, which is pretty cool. They actually did bring back a fake block enemy in this game, but it's just a block with eyes and a tail. Block Hoppers definitely did it best. The little alien guy is awesome, and now they just kind of feel soulless. Don't worry, I'm getting my protest sign ready. Inky Piranha Plant, holy Morty moles are large moles. They take 2 stomps to be defeated and the first hit flattens their body. Thanks Morty Mole, what would I do without you? Prongos are the most Super Mario 3D Land enemy to ever Super Mario 3D Land. And finally, these actually have gotten brought back, but I actually really like Wallops. They move with you to block your path, and honestly, they're pretty cool. I think they work best with 3D World's ice skates, but they're cool nonetheless. But yeah, most of these enemies that have been left behind I think are pretty fine to be gone. Unless someone's a really big Morty Mole fan, I think they knew which enemies to keep around, like Wallops and Bitty Buds. New Super Mario Bros. U doesn't really have anything, just these guys called girls, which are funny because they have 3 R's in their name. That's about it unless you want a 40-minute essay on the Waddle Wing. The final game I'm going to talk about is Super Mario 3D World. Since Odyssey is just so recent, I don't really know which enemies are going to become mainstays. Just know that I really like Pokeos, Tropical Wigglers, and these skeleton guys. But anyways, 3D World has another enemy that I like a ton for no reason, the Ant Trooper. I don't really care about them in the actual levels, and they don't really do much special, but like, look at these guys, they're awesome. And just when you thought it couldn't get any cooler, yeah, they put a shell on his head. Pretty cool, I want to playable in Mario Kart. 3D World has a lot of new enemies, but there aren't really too many crazy ones, like, whoa, it's a boulder, I wonder what his name is, oh yeah, it's Boulder. Block Steppers are kinda funny, Conquerors are kinda just there, but they do have an S tier name. Flopters are just an actually pretty cool design. Hop Chops turn into springs when you defeat them, pretty crazy, I know. Madpoles are funny little guys, but they have some of the most polarizing designs in the game. Like, look at this art, it's awesome, but then look at this. Alright, yeah, that's enough of that. But for our final enemy, we have none other than the Snow Pokey. Really great design, missed opportunity to call it a Snowkey, 7 out of 10. These weird enemies make Mario games so much fun. It's awesome to see all of the weird new designs in a game, and also to see which ones become mainstays, and which ones they decide to draw the line on and contain in the game they're from. I do think for the most part though, they do a good job bringing back the ones that are good, and leaving behind the worst ones. Except for Splunkins, why have those not come back?